Hey everybody, what's going on? Maine here. We're back from a weekend away in the mountains. I've got an exciting stream for you guys today. You're getting a double dose of Maine, but today we're very, very lucky to have my good friend and a colleague of mine, Satraj, who is the CEO and founder of Rails. Which is a new exchange. And we're going to be chatting about the market. So, me and Satraj have done a few spaces. As you guys remember, Satraj is one of the best traders that I have ever been so lucky to get to talk about and just kind of share market thoughts with. So, we've done a couple of those spaces now and had a lot of fun. You guys were able to ask. This is like a live real deal 9-figure trader, not just personally, but he also ran one of the largest and still runs one of the largest funds out of Canada, running their liquid portfolio extremely successfully over the last few years. So this is going to be a very fun stream. We're going to chat about the markets. So if you guys have questions, what goes through the mind of someone like Satraj when he's making decisions, moving serious capital in these markets, we'll talk about that. And then we're going to talk about Rails, the exchange that he founded, why he built it, what makes it special, what they have planned. And we're also going to talk about the $1 million giveaway that they're going to be doing over this summer. And you can participate simply by trading there, which is awesome. So we're live on Twitter. We're live on YouTube. We're live on Twitch. So if you guys have any questions, anything at all, this is your opportunity. So, Satraj, just why don't you give a quick intro? Let's also make sure everyone can hear you.
Yeah. Hey, everyone. Good to see you and meet you again. This is our third stream together. We've talked about the markets before. So I can beat the intro that Trader Main just gave for me. But yeah, I run one of the largest liquid crypto funds in Canada. It's called the Around 30 Digital Asset Fund. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Rails. My background, I'm a software engineer and entrepreneur. I built and sold to companies in the past. Fun fact, as one of the first iOS developers in Canada. So that's kind of like my background.
Awesome. So let's start maybe with just, and guys, let me know if the audio on Satraj is at a good level there. Yeah, unfortunately, you're stuck with just looking at my ugly mug. But Satraj will be sharing his screen in a little bit here. But let me know if the audio is good on his end as well. Cool. Audio is great. Awesome. So let's start with just kind of our thoughts on the market here. So Satraj actually reached out to me. He's like the best kind of friend you can have because right before price pumps or nukes, he usually messages me and is like, hey, I just bought like 400 Bitcoin and I'll usually just tail. So he messaged me, I want to say this was like a week ago, maybe when we were still trading above 105, 106K. And you told me that you basically moved a bunch of the fund's positioning back to cash. So you had cash to buy what you believed was the upcoming dip. We shortly after dipped below 100K. What was your thought process on why you sold there, and what kind of things are you looking for before you decide to buy back?
I think so. I was kind of bullish going into June, and it did sort of play out. But as soon as you have war on the horizon and you have stuff that you just can't control, you just don't understand. I think the safest play for any trader is really just to go into cash and then look for easier opportunities to trade. So that's what I did. At that point, when I messaged you, went into 90% cash. I think the only asset we had on our books at that point was Bitcoin. Everything else was in cash, and it ended up being a pretty good decision in hindsight. So, yeah, I think the way I tend to look at trades over many years now is you just want to trade when it's easy, and you just don't want to trade when it's hard, and that's sort of like the way I've been approaching it for many years. And I think we've had this discussion many times, and it's always been about the same principle that you really want to trade in easy mode, and you just want to relax when it's not easy mode.
I agree. Like I talk about this on stream with you guys all the time. Like we want to be focusing our trading like during these moments when price is aggressively repricing higher or even aggressively repricing lower. Like the best time to trade is when there is a clear, definable trend. And this can be determined on something like as easy as the daily chart. Like if the daily chart is clearly in an uptrend, this is when you're going to have your easy opportunities on Bitcoin. Buying the dip's going to be rewarded. This is when you're going to have your easy opportunities on altcoins, because generally altcoins are going to be, responding very well to pullbacks, coming potentially faster horses out of the bottom. But when we get these kind of sideways bits of price action, you don't need to be in a position. I think one of the problems with crypto being so 24/7 is people don't have an off switch. And so they are constantly looking to be in a trade when oftentimes, in my opinion, and I think you'll agree, there's only a certain few periods throughout the year where it's in easy mode. And that's when most of the money is made anyways.
Yep. Exactly, and I think we had a short period just before June where it was like that, and now we're back into chop and uncertainty, and there's all this like secondary effects that happen in the market, like in the whatever war right now. If oil's going to go up, is it not going to go up? Are they going to blow up the strait? Like, are they going to mess up the strait where the ships go through? So
Yeah.
there's all this stuff. It makes it extremely difficult to trade, no matter how good you are. I find it very hard that you know exactly what's going to happen, especially with stuff like this. And I think since Trump got elected, we are very heavily influenced by the news cycle in the market, and that makes it even more difficult. Influenced by the news cycle in the market, and that makes it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, there's a lot of headline risk right now. I mean, look at just over the last couple of weeks, really. I mean, not even the last week itself. We had Trump telling everyone they should evacuate Tehran. That caused price to drop, $4,000. And then we have this morning's news. Or yesterday's escalation, and then this morning's news, and this move is now fully bounced. And after kind of putting in a spike lower, now it's pushing up to the highs again. This is not high probability trading conditions, in my opinion. Coupled with the fact that we also are in summer, right, which seasonally is just not the most ideal time to trade. I know everyone likes to meme the whole sell in May and go away thing, but so far we haven't traded higher than we did in May. It's been choppy and kind of downward trending since May. And there's an argument to be made that we might just be kind of in this choppy summer range for the next couple of months. And then things pick back up when, big money, everyone's back at their desk in the summer or after summer, excuse me.
Yeah, 100%. Now, the way this war things play out generally, they are bullish in the long run because they're very inflationary. So you just have to wait it out. I think the hardest part about trading chop is that you most likely will get chopped up, and you will not have any capital for when it gets easy again. So capital preservation, I think, is the key in times like this. And in a 24/7 market, there's going to be trades all the time, and you just have to be patient and wait for those.
Yeah, like I posted a little long idea this morning where we kind of had that dump on the, Iran striking back in Qatar. And yeah, maybe this causes a little bit of a bounce, but this is all very much short-term noise, in my opinion. I think there's a very good chance that we're kind of just in a range between like 100 and 110 here for the next little while. And if you can trade that range, by all means, go for it. But high probability opportunities, I still think it's too early to determine what that can be. We could, God forbid, someone in America dies, or an American, dies in one of these counterstrikes from Iran. Then what? Does the U.S. have to escalate again? What does that do to the markets? I just think that, I think the S&P is up almost 100 points today. After going as low as 59.13, now it's back above 6,000. And this is all very much headline driven, choppy type of PA. You guys who have been in crypto for a long time, you got to know, like, when crypto's running hot and it's time to pay attention, you almost feel like you can't get away from the charts. You're constantly locked in. You feel like you're missing out on opportunities. Whereas right now, when it's a little bit more choppy, sometimes you need to relish and really take advantage of the time where the market's allowing you to not have to pay as close attention. And you can just kind of, go touch grass, go outside, enjoy your summer. Because once we start rolling again, that's when, you're going to be having those long days. You feel like you can't look away. But right now, I don't think this is kind of the most optimal condition. So I know it's hard to give predictions. We just gave a big rant on, this is not high probability conditions. Where are you interested in starting to redeploy some of that capital that you've set aside now?
Yeah, so I think my personal bias, obviously not financial advice, is I think we're going to go a little bit lower than where we are right now. So I'm because we went all the weeklies all closed very bearish. I don't see the weeklies looking good in any way or form. I like looking at altcoins like XRP. That was a very bearish close. So maybe we sort of, because we went all the way down to the major support levels, maybe we bounce up a little bit, like you said, 104, 105. I'd probably short there. XRP probably, if it goes to 206, 205, short there. Break 109, short there. So I'm not in a hurry to deploy. I'm just gonna sort of play it out. Obviously, the easiest sort of way to play the market now is if the market reclaims 110 and on the weekly and it's got large volume, and that's sort of like you can just ride that up.
Yeah,
And
I mean, this is a trade that I've talked about with everyone always. It's the all-time high trade being super easy. Like you literally just draw a line at the all-time high level, and if we reclaim that on a high time frame, you long. Because if we fail, right, and that's what we did at the last all-time high, right? If we fail to hold above there, that's very bearish. If we hold above there, that's really bullish, and it's probably going to trade significantly higher. I think a lot of people underestimate just buying strength through all-time high as a trade.
yeah, that's true. But I think for people with smaller accounts or really want to hone in your trading skills, this job is pretty good on the lower time frames. Like you can come in and out very quickly, and it offers the opportunity to really put in some time and volume and sort of grow your experience. So on the other side of that, I think this is good for that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just very different, right? Like, I agree. I think there was a scalp long opportunity just a couple hours ago there. Like, to me, that was a good short term long here. It's already back up. We're almost at 103,000 already. I posted that on Twitter. I was like, this looks good for a quick bounce here. But when you're moving, tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars, it's just a very different ball game, right? You can't be it. Look what happened to James Wynn when you're trying to trade that kind of size in a choppy environment. That's what happens. You get chopped up.
100%, especially if you tell everyone where your positions are. So that's another problem.
I know it's almost like trading on a DEX where everyone can see your stop, entry, target, liquidation price, and you're opening a multi-$100 million, at one point billion-dollar notional position might not have been the best idea.
Yeah, 100%.
So I got a question here from the chat for you. Someone wanted to know, how did you get into trading in the first place? Did you come from trading traditional markets, or was crypto your first exposure to trading?
No, I think online poker. I think that's where you sort of I built sort of like my understanding of bankroll management, because you learn from there like what lots of volume does for you. So if you sort of take high probability sort of like setups in trading, or you trade with positive EQ in poker, like you play poker like that, and you put a lot of volume, lots of tables, you end up churning out a pretty decent profit over time. And sort of that's sort of been the basis of how I entered trading. And then I think it's just like it's many years of failure that you sort of you keep learning from, and then you build a good setup for like pattern matching and understanding and seeing the same situation over and over again. You and I think what you develop when you do it over many years is you get this like bat signal in your brain where you know when it's easy mode, and you know when it's very difficult, and you kind of have a sense of it, and I think that gets built over time intuitively.
Yeah, I think people underestimate just how many poker players make their way to crypto because there's so many similarities in terms of bankroll management, risk management, and a lot of these online poker sites back in the day, you could bet with crypto. That was one of the ways that people played. Like I know people who built up a significant stack of like Ethereum because that was the currency that was used on
Mhm.
that on those poker sites back in the day, which is so funny to see. Um, Awesome,
Yeah,
awesome. Yeah, sorry, go for it. Didn't mean to cut you off there.
no, no, no. Yeah. So I think it's really, and I think what I did do is when I was losing, I never took it personally. So something you know the other thing you learn from poker is because you get all your tilt out of your way in playing poker because you get tilted very easily there, and you sort of get abstained from tilt, and you bring that sort of into trading, and it makes it much easier because losing is just part of the game. Like you have to accept it as a very normal part of playing the game, and we lose a lot more than we think we should, but it's just how you get better, and you learn how to capitalize on your game, on your winning moments, and that's how you turn out a profit over the long run.
Yeah, I think people always have this common misconception of win rate, right? Like you're in poker, you're playing, you're shoving on the hand that you believe statistically has the best win rate for you, right? You're folding other hands, you're min betting. Trading is no different. Your win rate is not going to be 100%, but it's making sure that when you win big and it
Yep.
offsets all of those losses, right? Like the losses are little paper cuts, but the win is a big, ginormous win. And asymmetric risk reward is something that I still think in crypto people are struggling with. You don't need to win even half of the time if your bet sizing, if your trade sizing is done properly. You can actually lose quite a bit of trades because when you win, it offsets all those losses and more, and it makes you profitable. And I think that's something that poker people kind of know inherently. But when you come into trading without that prior experience, I think a lot of people just come in and they say, hey, like, I don't like losing. I don't want to lose money. And that's something that you learn in poker early on, and you've got to learn one way or another in trading. You got to be taking those 1 hour losses, because when you win, you're winning double or 3 times your money, and that allows you to have that kind of 50-ish% win rate.
Yep, exactly.
Can you talk more about how you optimize your wins, just RR trades? I mean, it's if you have an edge, if you have a system, your risk management aspect is actually quite simple, right? It should just be static, in my opinion, at least early on, where you know what you're risking on each trade. And the upside needs to be, in my opinion, at least like 1.5 to 2 times that for it to be a good idea. Because you can have a trade that you think is a good trade, but if the risk reward is, sub one, you got to make sure you're right more than half the time for those types of trades to play out and for you to actually have a profitable system. So I generally aim for a minimum of 2 to 3 return on any sort of risk I'm taking. So if I'm risking 1%, I want to make sure if I win, I'm winning 2 to 3%.
Yep, 100%. And I think lower time frames are really good for that. Like actually trading on the lower time frames is for like building your experience on the 5 minute chart, because it's all the same. And until I became a high time frame trader, I spent a lot of time on the lower time frames, and that sort of builds your skill level.
Yes. I did the same thing like early on. I think there's this idea that if you take more trades, you'll make more money, right? So everyone's on the low time frame scalping. And I do like the idea of scalping because there's more repetitions. You're getting to see price move more quickly. You get to see the result of your trade more quickly. You're taking more shots at the gym. But once you start trading more size, in my opinion, I think the high time frame makes a lot more sense, and that's where you really capture the big moves, anyways. So
Yep.
I've completely moved to kind of swing trading now for the most part. The trade I posted this morning, was one of the rare kind of scalps where I saw the war FUD stop at the low, target's obvious. Like that's a trade where you can be in and out in the same day. But the big moves and stuff, those things form on the daily chart, the weekly chart, etc.
100%. You know what is a one very awesome sort of like thing I've seen with the weekends?
Sure.
If the price cannot be moved lower than a Sunday, like the end of day Sunday, because that's the when it's the most illiquid. it's generally going to be your bottom, your temporary bottom. Like that's what I always find. So if you look at yesterday's trade, I think that was not only the fact that it actually went into like big time support, but the fact that it went there on a Sunday just makes that entire like scalp long a very high probability trade.
Yes. No. There's some gamesmanship there going into the futures open, right?
Yeah.
So someone wants to know about ETH. What are your kind of thoughts on ETH? Someone who's been around for obviously multiple cycles right now. Like, are you surprised that ETH has underperformed as much as it did? Do you still think that it has a chance to make a new all-time high?
You know, I ETH makes me cry, if I be honest with you. It really does. Because for all of us who've sort of traded it multiple cycles, it was our biggest winner for many cycles, right? Like I
Yeah.
think 2021 and 2017, like it was, and then I think we all got accustomed to just as soon as the market's up, you just got a long ETH because it's the biggest beta on the market. And fortunately, in 21, I got Solana very early, but still, I like ETH performed well. But I think this time ETH's probably been my worst performing trade. Like I think I've traded ETH 9 times, I've lost 7 times.
Yeah.
It's
Mine
been
was Celestia or whatever, that CRISPR Nisk stupid friggin' coin. Do you think ETH still can go to all-time high?
Yeah, I think that's possible. But I think we need to enter like the full on liquidity mode. I think we're basically been in a Bitcoin bull market. You can see with dominance and the fact that it's gonna take like you need a full blown liquidity cycle for ETH to move, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that people who have been consistently calling for alt season nonstop for the last 3 years, basically, don't know that the Bitcoin dominance chart even exists. We just made fresh highs, I believe, again today or
Yeah.
yesterday. I'm the same way, man. I used to love trading Ethereum. It was my favorite coin to trade. It was generally the fastest horse out of the bottom. And it seems like Solana stole some of that thunder this cycle. But really, to your point, possibly very much due to ETFs as well, and just kind of the companies buying Bitcoin and just the full on attention, it seems like globally on Bitcoin, that it's just dominated this cycle in a way that we haven't really seen before, where the money flow hasn't been the same as what it used to be. There used to be those very clear cycles where Bitcoin would pump, then Ethereum would pump, then your level 2 mid caps would pump, and then your kind of low caps would go. We haven't really seen that same flow of money. I feel like it's just been a Bitcoin bull run, and then we've seen kind of secular pumps on Solana, certain meme coins, certain altcoins, but primarily it's just been Bitcoin.
Yep. Yeah, it's been that in that way it's been pretty difficult. So, but yeah, we got to adjust, right? It's the market. We have to work with the market.
Yeah, champions adjust. Does he use OTC desk much? I would assume yes.
Yes, only OTC.
Yeah, only OTC. So I do think that this is been an interesting cycle. Would you consider this cycle? A lot of people are saying this is the hardest cycle ever. Do you think this cycle is easier, harder, or just different?
I would say in terms of like if you weren't going to adjust, it's an extremely difficult cycle. It's definitely been a lot more difficult. A lot more thought has been required. But on the fund side, like we've 2x a very big amount of money over the last 2 years, and the liquid side maybe 5 to 6x just the liquid side. So, but that's primarily because we've been focused on Bitcoin and Solana. Ethereum's been a loser, but yeah, I think when we sort of entered the market, Bitcoin was trading in its 20s. I think our smallest order. So we've been riding that for a long time, and but I think that we've played some of the alt seasons well, but like we have had small things. We did have the TR run to 20. If you remember, we
Mm-hmm.
sort of did that one. But I think that we haven't had sustenance in alts in our alts, and that part's made it a little bit more difficult. So I think not being able to capture the highs. Like back in the day, it was a little bit easier. It's been a lot more difficult now.
Yeah, I think the issue or the most difficult part of this cycle has been how fast the rotations have been
Yes,
between
yes.
where the attention has gone. Whereas in previous cycles, it just feels like, and I think part of this is just due to there was less altcoin dispersion, is we had more sustained pumps, right? Like stuff would rally for days, weeks, where now it seems like we can have an entire bull market on one altcoin or a meme coin and it lasts, a week and then that's it. Like it had that much attention for that small period of time, then everyone rotated onto the next thing. And I think Pump Fund has played a part of that where there's just so many different altcoins. And there's still only so much money, right? So if you look at the total altcoin market cap, it's not like there's more money in these alts than there was in prior cycles. It's about the same. It's just that there's so many more places that money can go to slowly die. It's been. I would agree that it's been different. I would say more difficult if you were trying to trade it the same as last cycle. But if you were able to adjust, there was still has been tons of. I mean, Bitcoin went from 15K to almost 115K. There's still been lots of opportunities to make money. Solana obviously trading over $300, etc. with Fartcoin. So lots of stuff has gone up. It's just not been as easy. I think you had to be a lot more nimble. You couldn't just kind of put your money in good alts, as they like to say, and
Yes.
hold them for months. I don't think you could hold anything really outside of Bitcoin for months.
But exactly, and I think that means it's a trader's paradise, right? And that's why perps are very important, so you can play both sides of the market.
Absolutely. So I think this might be a good point here, guys, to transition to talking a little bit about Rails. So
Yep.
why don't you kind of give us the elevator pitch? Why did you build Rails? What did you see as maybe a gap in the market that made you? Because I mean, obviously, you're an extremely successful guy, already very well off from your own trading. What made you decide that you wanted to get back into the founder's seat? As someone who's founded a company the last couple of years myself, it's a lot of work and it's a completely different beast. So, what made you want to get in there and build something? What do you think was missing?
So the short story was we had a lot of money on FTX, and when it went down, obviously we've since recovered all of that. But it was like it was a gut wrenching moment for me because I remember like before I thought about the money lost, I was like, damn, where do I trade now? Like I actually used to enjoy trading on FTX, and I think one of the inspirations for Rails was. Um, to build an equivalent experience, a better experience, and make sure people don't lose their money. And that's sort of like in thesis what started off the thoughts behind building Rails. But I think as we began to talk and sort of discuss more about it, it became evidently clear that crypto's obviously going to go mainstream. It's going to go TradFi, and I think perps are going to play a very very important role. So as you know, we founded companies outside crypto. In crypto, we built one of the early dexes on Stellar. So we've sort of had experience in this space, and one of the things that I think the two most important pieces that make up a great exchange, and if you forget about like a lot of people call us a dex, we're not a dex. There's two facets. One is you have to have insanely amazing execution. And that's obviously a function of liquidity, but it's also the way you engineer your stack, like how fast your trade executes. And that's sort of I'll sort of demo that to you. And having that sort of sets up the base for a lot of liquidity. The other one is you have to use like on-chain custody. You see, the way I've been approaching like Rails, especially in my mind, is that there's a lot of idealism in crypto where everything's got to be on chain, everything's sort of got to move there, but it doesn't. That's just not reasonable. It's just not. It works for some things. It doesn't work for other. If you're talking about building a technical stack, crypto now is big enough to be a tech stack that you can add to an existing tech stack, which is central compute. You have on-chain custody, and you can build the next-gen exchange. So that's sort of how it evolved, and that's what we've built. We spent 2 years building it. It's taken a lot of time. We have an extremely talented engineering crew that's sort of worked. We worked and built this exchange, and merging central compute with on-chain custody is extremely difficult. And we've sort of had to use cryptography on how and I'll sort of go through that, how our funds are stored on chain. And then the other route that I think that we've been very lucky to have is on our compliance and regulatory front. At the end of the day, I think a lot of people confuse like deregulation for no regulation. I think in the long run, regulation plays a really strong role. It's kind of like administrative agnostic. So you have to follow the rules. We're KYC, KYB. My co-founder, the first thing he did when we started building our exchange was start getting our licensing set up. So shout out to Brent, done an amazing job, and we got registered with the SEMA, that's a Cayman International Monetary Authority. We have the WASP license, and now we're actively working with the CFTC. So putting all those facets together, I think we're building what we think is going to be the next best exchange. And the other thing I sort of like to talk about is, everyone always reminds me that Hyperliquid is going to eat my lunch and all of that stuff, and Binance is so much bigger. But I think we're sort of in our own lane. We're focused on sort of merging these two pieces of tech. At the end of the day, when you have decentralized exchanges, as they get more, even they start out fully centralized, and as they get more decentralized, they're going to lose performance. It's just meant to be. Blockchains don't scale fast enough to be like to grow at sort of like the speed at which centralized compute can work for execution speed. And I don't think you're going to have like big TradFi market makers coming onto the system where there's no there's no regulations, no compliance. So I think there's a world in which we exist, and I think that's sort of what I'm excited about. And comparing something that's like 3 or 4 weeks old to something that's been out for 2 years, there's a big gap, and we're obviously we have big goals, and we're going to keep working and building cool stuff.
So let's get your screen up here as I ask you a few more things here. So I'm going to pull up your screen now.
Yeah.
So people can actually see the Rails platform here. Let me just make sure that this looks good. So I think, I mean, here's the thing, right? Like, to say that, like, it's I think you put it so well when you said you're in your own lane. I mean, there's more than one exchange. There's more than one DEX. Like, there's a big pie here in crypto, and there's lots of different ways for people to engage with the markets. I think at a high level, what I think is very interesting about Rails that differentiates it from anything else that's currently on the market, one is the tech. It's built by engineers, and it's built by someone who is a high net worth, large size volume trader that was looking for something that, I agree with you, doesn't really exist on Binance or Bybit, for example, or OKX or Kraken currently, where it was that kind of speed that you mentioned, you alluded to FTX was kind of missing, right? And Rails is extremely fast. The UI is clean. The execution is really fast. And it has the best of both worlds in that it has the decentralized aspect in terms of on-chain custody, but it has the centralized aspects of the matching engine and the fact that it's fast. And if you want to get some of these large institutional players, like perhaps a Citadel down the line or something, like, they're going to need certain things that a decentralized exchange or an exchange that's based out of China, Dubai, wherever, isn't going to have. So maybe you can touch on that very quickly, because we have a few people asking about where they can trade Rails from. So obviously this is a KYC exchange, but you guys are licensed properly.
So we're licensed properly. We're active in the US, given the work we're doing. We have a list of countries. We'll sort of post that in Discord right after but it's just the general ones that people don't allow. Like we don't trade in Canada. We are in most countries.
Yeah. So the fact that you can trade in the US here with KYC guys is huge. And I think that that's going to be a game changer. And I imagine as regulatory kind of headwinds continue the way that they're heading, things are going to become even more and more open and available.
Yep, I think that's exactly it, and I think we have a strong focus on that, and on the tech part, I talk about the scalability. So one of the things is the team is working every single day to make it faster. So I would say we're still to 30 to 40% on the way we want to be. We have a lot of work to do. We have an amazing CTO, and this phenomenal engineering team, and they're all sort of working they're always thinking about this. So at the end of the day, this is very much more a tech company than it is just a crypto company, and there's just lots of thoughts going into speed and scalability and all of that stuff. So I'll give you a quick example. This is a small account we have, but that's like the order execution right there. It's very, very fast and quick. And you have all the regular stuff like your trigger orders. You can add your take profits. Do we just long? Yeah,
Bottom must be in.
bottom must be in. So let's say 100,000.
So I think that that's very interesting, and I'd love for you to. I mean, I've used the platform, guys. It's very, very, very fast. So if you're looking for something that kind of has that like snappy new phone feeling that you used to get when you were trading on something like FTX, where everything seems instantaneous, the UI seems really clean. I get that same feeling from Rails. Can you explain to us the actual custody aspect of it, guys? I know a bunch of people are saying any plans for Canada. The problem is not Rails. The problem is the Canadian government. So, I hope all of you guys who are asking about Canada voted conservative.
I think we're just going to work with the regulatory bodies as they make stuff available. I am very hopeful that we are eventually able to offer it at some point.
Yeah, I think the direction that Rails is going in terms of being above board from day one is going to make it a very interesting option as countries get more and more comfortable with crypto, because that's the direction the world seems to be heading. If perps get fully legalized in the US, all of this stuff that's happening, Coinbase IPOing, other companies planning IPOs, I think that's the direction that the West in general is going to be heading with crypto. And when you have an exchange that's built right from the ground up in terms of KYC, KYB from the beginning, it's based in the US, that bodes extremely well for the future. It's going to be a lot harder for a company like Binance to ever offer US and Canadian people access when the way that they started was having people trading on the exchange effectively illegally, right?
Yeah, yep, agree there. And I think one of the things that sort of matters to us is this really heavy focus on being compliant. I think it's very underrated. I think it's very important. And we've sort of like we just didn't wake up and decide we're going to be in the U.S. We spent a lot of money talking to the best lawyers, getting the best consultation, making sure we had everything in place before we made that decision. So I think yeah, we're excited. The one thing we are doing is building liquidity. We're a new exchange. We're not going to have liquidity that Binance has right now. We have two great market makers on board, and we don't market make our own funds or user funds. In a sense, there's no Alameda here. There's nothing. So we building liquidity is obviously our big sort of important focus over summer, and it's part of why we are sort of launching all these incentives.
Yeah, so let's talk about there's a couple things I want to touch on, and then we can get into this airdrop. So, how does the on-chain custody work?
Yep. So what we do is like you can see here, every 30 seconds we post our transactions on chain, and this is on the Ink network. And this is an example of a transaction that just got posted. This is all the stuff across all the markets that makes up that transaction. It's rolled up. We have something called in cryptography called a Merkle tree. The short end focus of that is to ensure that everything that's in the central transaction table is untampered with when posted on chain, and that's how we don't manage users' funds. We don't custody users' funds. We use cryptography to ensure that you're allowed to withdraw what's available to you.
Yeah, so I think this is one of the biggest points of differentiation, guys. Like, obviously, the tech is incredible, but you get all of the upside of a centralized exchange from an execution standpoint, from a liquidity standpoint, obviously, as the exchange grows. But you get the benefit of a DEX where they are not the custodian of your funds. So your funds are not at risk like they would be of, Bybit getting hacked, FTX going under. That risk is gone. So it's kind of when he mentioned earlier that this is kind of in their own lane, this isn't Hyperliquid. Hyperliquid has its own advantages. Centralized exchanges have things that they do, right, with their set, but this is almost like a hybrid of both, where you get the best of both worlds, in my opinion, which is very cool. Is Rails hiring? I don't know. You could probably check their website. They might have a jobs page. Let's get into the airdrop here, because people are curious about the token. How does this all work? How can people participate?
Yep. So before that, I'm going to give a shout out to all my friends in South Korea. We had an insane user boost last night. I think we had 1,000 signups and deposits. You can see the volume on the graph. It's like, this is last night. So it's pretty awesome. Just want to give a shout out to all of them. Like, it's awesome to have you on board. So this is a great segue to our sort of like to our points program. So one of the things that's very important to us is our token is not just an extractive token. It's one of the benefits that obviously crypto has is it creates an incentive that people like and people tend to work with. And obviously, if it works really well, people tend to gain a lot from personally. And I think we obviously have all those interests in mind. One of the things that we're thinking about as we think about our token is it's not just a token, it's a product. So we have a really big product launch coming up in September, after the 21st of September, and it requires a token. We obviously too early to say what it is, but it requires a token as a core component to use it every single time. And I think building that utility into the token, just like if you've ever played, I don't play Roblox, my kid does, but if you play Roblox, you have to buy Robux, and you have to use it within the platform. We've sort of taken that philosophy and understanding in how you'd actually use the token inside the platform, and it's the launch of the token and the launch of that sort of product suite is also all in one. So what we're doing is we're giving away points. We have a total of 4.5 million points that are distributed between June 8th and September 21st. This ends on the weekly. So the points are always paid out the Monday after weekly close. So we started off with 100,000 for the relative and absolute P&L. That gives sort of traders with big portfolios who will probably win on the absolute, and people with smaller portfolios who would generally do better on the relative side. But we also added this week the volume P&L. So we have something called a volume activity score that takes into account not just your aggregate volume, but also the number of trades you take. So we have that on the help center. We'll post that after this. So in total, or between June 8th and September 21st, we're giving 4.5 million points to the top 20 on each leaderboard. But that's not all. And I think this is first in the stream is at the end on September 21st, we're also going to be distributing an equivalent number of points, 4.5 million points, to every single trader on Rails based on their volume activity scores. That's how much volume they put in and how many trades they've taken. So that's an additional points. And between that, and we have some points for referrals and connecting your X account and all of that stuff. But that will be our phase 1 points program. We'll post this on Discord and on X right after the stream. So that sort of leads up to our token launch, and then we'll sort of see what to go from there. So that's the big the points thing.
So for a few of you in the chat that said, how can I participate without money? If you create a ref link and you connect your X, you get points. But just like just like many things where you want to participate in an airdrop, you have to actually use it. So if you have any money, you're trading on Rails every single week, you're going to get points. It will be based on your P&L, it'll be based on volume, it'll also be based on your relative P&L, which means if you don't have $100,000 but you turn $1,000 into $2,000, that's still good because that relative P&L is still good. So I think that this is awesome. And this is one of those things where it's like the way that you participate is simply by trading there. It's not some sort of convoluted farming scheme that you have to do that's just going to get farmed by a handful of people who are botting it. You simply just got to trade on the platform, and every week you're going to accumulate points. People have already been accumulating points, and it's still very much early days, guys, here. So not a lot of people have connected, not a lot of people have deposited, not a lot of people have created ref links yet. So if you want to get in early and you want to be one of those people who were trading on this, well before the end, I think there's going to be less competition to get some of these points than there will be a lot closer to the end date. So it looks like a total of 9 million points will be given away, 4.5 million up to September 21st. And then after September 21st, another 4.5 million, which is awesome.
Yep, and that's what we're doing, right? We want to reward performance, people who strive and sort of reach the top 20, and everyone who participates, because not everyone will make the top 20, but everyone should get a piece of putting some effort and volume in the platform. So that's the points program. That's one thing, and so we'll post that right after. Everyone on Rails is a winner with this sort of system, and it ends on September 21st. Now, on top of that, sort of is what we call the $1 million summer giveaway. So what we're doing here is over this week, the first 1,000 people to sign up get a match of up to $250. So if you deposit $250, you'll get $250. Anything less, it matches to a max of $250. What happens is next Monday, June 30th, you'll get the money in your account. The only caveat will be you'll have to trade up to 100x your volume. So if you deposit 50, you'll get 50. You trade 5,000, you get to keep the money. So that's a small portion. And then so we have 250K allocated for that. And then we have what we call sort of like a drip campaign. We're starting this week and next week, where we distribute 75K. This is in cash at the end of each week to the top 10 on each leaderboard. And we're sort of going to be changing it up. So this is set for the next 2 weeks. We're obviously going to be monitoring that. But in total, between now and September 21st, we're going to give away $1 million on different things across the platform.
That's pretty sweet. So I know, guys, a lot of people who like trade on like sports betting sites, it's like, oh, deposit $100, get $100, but you can never withdraw that. Here, if you trade a little bit, that money becomes withdrawable. And then the drip campaign, this is just straight up cash that you're giving away. Yeah. So if you guys are already trading, right, like this is an opportunity to get more money. So if you're looking for something to do over the summer, you don't want to go outside, you don't want to spend time with family, you want to be locked in trading the summer chop on the low time frame. If you're doing it on Rails, you're going to have an opportunity to win extra money every single week, as well as farming points.
100%. And I think, and one last thing for the $250, it's for the first 1,000 users.
First 1,000 users on the 250, and then everyone is eligible for the drip campaign, the 75K every week.
Yes, that's correct.
Awesome. Okay, this is very cool. So a couple of the questions about the platform. People want to know about fees. Like, how do the fees work? Is it similar to some other centralized exchanges, maker, taker, etc.?
Yeah, so we are 10 bips flat, and the reason we've kept it like that is because because we have a token coming out, we'll be able to offer volume discounts based on how many tokens you hold, how much volume you do, and we set from our sort of like our base level and work our way down based on other stuff that you have. So that's sort of how we've set it up.
Okay, very very interesting. And when does the $1,000 or the 1,000 users deposit thing begin? Is that live today?
Yeah, it's live today.
Okay, so it's deposits as of starting today. Okay, very, very, very cool. So let's go back to the exchange pane there. If you want to try and just kick us around here a little bit, show people what they're looking at here. So I mean, flick through some of the different pairs, etc. I just want people to get a feel of kind of how fast this is.
Yeah, so we have Bitcoin. Right now we have 4 pairs. Bitcoin, ETH, Sol, XRP. We're adding more. I think we have hype coming in this week or next week. So we're also going to be adding more pairs as people trade. Everything else is generally very similar to what you get on a pretty good perps thing. We're going to be working on other features, things that we're missing that we will be adding, things like TWAPs and getting a lot more sophisticated. With stuff like that, but we have the bones to sort of add lots of stuff. We obviously want to increase liquidity, but I think we're super excited for fall when I think that's when we have our killer product out on the exchange. So it goes, and we're very excited about that. The other thing that we're going to be doing is not just adding pairs. Like you see, the thing is, like for example with meme coins, right? They're always cyclical. They're never like long standing. Like you have Farcoin now, you had Pepe, you had WIF. Like what we want to focus on adding at some point is indexes of different meme coins where you have items rotating in and out of them. So you can have one very highly liquid index, then individual tokens. So one of the things that we don't want to have at Rails is, have like 130 pairs, but only 10 of them are liquid and the rest are completely illiquid. So we're going to be sort of like replacing a lot of what exchanges have with very illiquid pairs with indexes that can be more liquid. So that's sort of another stuff that's on the horizon.
Yeah, I think the idea of having like baskets, like meme coin baskets, altcoin baskets, is really good. Guys, I want you to remember here as well, this is like very early days. This exchange has been live for like 2 weeks. So if you want to get on the ground floor with an exchange, have an opportunity to farm some points, make some actual cash, where there's still not a lot of competition, get a ref link for an exchange that not everyone has already signed up for, and be part of something that's growing. This is a pretty cool opportunity. These guys are going to be a mainstay. They've got a really good team. The tech is going to continue to get better, to improve. They're going to continue to add more pairs. But if you're asking me, okay, do these have all the same pairs that Binance has? Of course not. This is a 2-week-old company. Not 2-week-old company, but they've been live for 2 weeks. It's going to take time. But if you want to be on the ground floor of something and grow with it, I think this is a really cool opportunity to get involved with something that is unique and novel, to be honest with you.
Yep, and I think one of our big focus is on the user experience. We want to keep stuff clean, easy to use, and send us your feedback. That's very important. It helps us build a better product. And yeah, thanks for taking your time to listen to this.
Yeah, one last question here. Someone asked about how the deposits work. So he said, are you depositing to a smart contract every time you enter a trade? The answer is obviously no, right? You connect a wallet, you fund that wallet, and that's where your money sits.
That's right. You fund it into a very audited, secure smart contract,
Yeah.
and and we've built the bridging directly inside. So because we're on Inc, which is an L2 on ETH, you can deposit directly from mainnet USDT, becomes bridges to USDTO to deposit into the smart contract.
So it's all done behind the scenes, and it's not like a DEX where you're approving every single transaction, guys. Once you have money on your wallet, this is instantaneous.
Yeah, and that's kind of the cool thing, because if you have money deposited, you can just go and trade. You can just carry the phone with you. We're obviously going to build a mobile a little bit later on, but our mobile web, you can just carry it and log in and trade whenever you want.
Cool. Awesome, man. Well, I think this has been very informative. Guys, I highly suggest you give Rails a look here. I'm going to be helping out with a lot of this stuff as well. I'm going to be involved. I've been involved for the last year plus already. I think it's still very early days, but they've been off to an awesome start. And, sometimes you wish you can get on some of these things on the ground floor. This is your opportunity to participate in something, early on. It says you're trying to access in Miami. They should have no problem in the USA. Is there an easy blog post or page they can go to see if where they live is eligible to trade there?
Yep, we have the help center. We'll post that on Discord.
Yeah, so join the Discord, guys, and again, this is early days. If you have feedback, you have stuff you want to see, this is still at a point in time where if you have suggestions, like you can actually see things that you suggest get implemented. This is not like dealing with the customer service at Coinbase. You're talking to the guy who helped build the exchange and is running it. So join the Discord. I'm in there as well if you got any questions, anything like that. But I think over the coming months, we're going to see this exchange grow a lot. And you guys got an opportunity to, kind of get involved early here, which is awesome. Let's just do one quick last look at the markets here. I'm going to ask you some questions that are very difficult to answer and annoying, but I'm going to make you do it anyways. Do you think that we top this year in 2025?
Have we, or are we going to top?
Are we going to, or have we already?
No, I think I think we top in 26.
You think we top next year? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So like early 26 though, or hard to say?
Hard to say.
Okay.
But I think, yeah.
But the top is not in yet. That's good news. Okay.
No,
Gun to your head, metaphorically, of course. Give us a price range where you think that is on Bitcoin.
I have a pretty wide range, actually. I'd say 180 to 250.
180 to 250. Okay, I think everyone in the video here would be very happy anywhere in 180 to 250. I have one more question here, and this is one that everyone asks me every video, and I always have a very hard time answering it because I genuinely don't know. But everyone always asks me about alt season. They say, when alt season, what's alt season going to look like? And my memory of alt season is like, people, I think they think that alt season is going to be like a year-long period where every single altcoin does 100x. When in reality, alt season is like a very short window at the end of the cycle where alts outperform Bitcoin. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they all go up. And a lot of these alts are down so much that they need a 10x to get back to break even. So with the way that the market is currently, there's so many new altcoins. Bitcoin dominance is ripping. It's making new highs seemingly every single week. Do you think we have a traditional alt season, or is it just different this time?
I think it's going to be different this time, and I think that some characteristics are actually going to be similar. So, with every alt season we've ever had, it's always the new stuff that runs the hardest, right? Doesn't matter if you're 2017, 2021, it's always the new stuff that runs the hardest. And we've had some pretty good runs for the newer stuff this time around as well. So that's something to keep an eye out. It's going to be the newer stuff. I think my obviously NFA, my prediction around it's going to be new stuff that's well bounded with regulatory setups. That's why you're seeing stablecoins run up, and I think there's a lot happening on on the TradFi side. The Circle's gone nuts. It's crazy. But I think you're not seeing that sort of extrapolate onto the tokens. Like you're not getting the same runs on stablecoin tokens like ENA, for example, right? Base. So I think it's going to be the new stuff. I think there's going to be new narratives, and I think one of the things to look out for will be what I think are security tokens. So I think one of the enablers of a really good alt season are going to be tokens that accrue value to holders, where either there's like massive buybacks. I think you've seen that with Hype, But where you're going to see you getting actual cash or dividends because you hold the token, I think Aave might switch to that. So, and I think that just requires regulatory approval. So I'd be looking out for that, like where the puck's going to go next. And I think it's going to be what do the best alts look like in the next 2 years, and sort of focusing on that.
Yeah, I think that's actually a very interesting thought, right? Is it's this kind of new meta where it's how can these protocols and these coins incentivize users? I think the game has changed where prior cycles we had these kind of VC slop coins, where the only real winners were the people who were in these kind of super 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 discounted rounds, and then these coins maybe had a bit of a brief time to pump until everyone got their allocation, and then it was just unlimited sell pressure forever. Whereas now we're seeing protocols try and find more ways where they can give money back to the community, and I think that's a really good different direction. So very
Yeah,
interesting to see.
that's exactly what the way I'm thinking about it. It's going to be something tied to and I think your segue to that is what they call RWAs, like the real world assets. But I think it's got to be something where users actually feel like they're just not holding something because of speculative value. They're getting something tangible out of it, and I think that's going to matter. I think
Yeah.
the bar for a good altcoin is very, very high now than it was back in the past. Because you just had this crazy meme cycle where nothing's of any value. It's purely hype driven, and you can't beat that. Like you can't beat that on speculation at all. So it's got to be value driven.
Yeah, no, I mean it's been this has been the attention cycle. How long can something hold attention for? And then as soon as the attention kind of wanes, the price just dies.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, dude, this has been super, super helpful. Guys, if you have any questions, make sure you're giving Satraj a follow on Twitter. It's sat underscore bomba or bam underscore, I believe.
Yes, Satbam. So
So
it's
sat
Sat.
underscore bam underscore. I'll just drop this in the chat, and then make sure you're following Rails on all social media as well. Join the Discord if you have any questions. You want to know, where you can trade from, things like that. But I think this is going to be an exchange to watch, and the reason largely I want to share it with you guys is there's an opportunity for you guys to get some money here just by trading there. So if you're trading already and you're using an exchange, consider trying throwing some volume this way and at least getting compensated for it over the next few months, because they're going to be giving away literally $1 million in cash. So that's pretty cool.
Awesome. Thank you
Awesome.
so much.
We'll be back. We'll talk again soon. All right, guys, as always, appreciate you guys tuning in. I'll be back with another video later. Talk to y'all then.